Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your host, Gordo Gambles, and welcome back to another full card DFS breakdown. This time for UFC Orlando. We get ourselves a 15 fight slate on tap this weekend. I don't want to waste so much time. I want to get right into these 15 fights. Before I do so, hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. Let's do this. Like I said, 15 fights on tap, and we got ourselves a bunch of great DraftKings options this week. A lot of volatility and a lot of high DraftKings upside. First fight I want to talk about is one I want to target a lot, and I think you guys know where I'm going. Minus 550 not to go to decision. We got the big boys. We got Tuivasa versus Sergey Pavlovich. You guys know I've done my shoeies for someone like Tuivasa, but this is just a pure violent matchup. If you guys don't know who Sergey Pavlovich is, because of course you guys know who Tuivasa is. Sergey Pavlovich is on a 4-fight winning streak. In his 5 fights in the UFC, he has ended all of them in the very first round, including being finished in the first round himself. But he's a killer to be killed fighter. He's going to have a huge immeasurables advantage in this fight. He's got a 9-inch reach advantage, and he's also got the wrestling in his back pocket here if he wants to take down and try to ground and pound someone like Tuivasa, someone who has been, taken down and finished before. Tuivasa, we know who he is. He's a brawler. He's a banger from West Sydney, and he's got power, and you cannot take that away from him, but he's going to be at a huge height and reach advantage. He's going to be the smaller fighter, especially with the way he's looking at the weigh-ins, cutting down weight, and he's been finished in 3 or 4 of his losses. The reason I'm targeting this fight from both sides is because up top, Sergey Pavlovich probably has a better chance to win with his ground game, which is reach advantage, with the same power he has facing someone who's just been knocked out in a championship bout. But on the other side of things, Tuivasa, $7.2 thousand. If he's able to connect on Sergey Pavlovich, and if he's able to find the mark, he's going to be optimal. At that salary, his win condition is 110, 120, and I definitely do not think it's impossible, so I'm definitely going to have both of these sides in this fight here. It's a super fun one. This is my highest owned fight of the night. Next up, another fight I'm really targeting from both sides. We have Gennaro Valdez versus Levy. Gennaro Valdez, he went in there in his UFC debut, got knocked down 6 times by Matt Frevola, absolutely broke the slate there, and you know what? He's a maniac. All gas, no brakes. He's a guy who just wants to get in, get out, and he fights at a super high pace, sometimes to his own demise. We saw him gas out a bit on Dana White Contender Series against one of the worst fighters we've ever seen, and if we add in the fact that he was knocked down 6 times, he has been cracked before, he's a dangerous fighter to back. But in these DraftKings, in these DFS situations, he's exactly who you want, because he's going to go in there, he's going to force a pace, probably get a finish or get finished, and I do think this is another spot where he's able to do so. Levy is a big, solid dude. He's probably going to have the physicality advantage here, but is he going to be able to keep up with the pace of someone like Gennaro Valdez? Is he going to be able to find the chin of someone like Gennaro Valdez? And if they can't, who's going to win the wrestling exchanges? I do think that as the fight goes on, wrestling's become more dominant in this fight. Who's got the better takedown defense? Who's got the better offensive wrestling? Because I think that they both have decent offensive wrestling, but they can both be stuck on bottom, both struggle on their backs, and it's just a fight with a lot of volatility. My prediction is Gennaro Valdez goes out there swinging and banging, probably gets clipped a bit and resorted to the wrestling, to which it's going to be a battle of the wills. Who's got more in the tank? Who's going to want to win those grappling exchanges? And I can see it happening both sides. I think that Levy is the rightful favorite in this spot, but I would not be opposed to you taking a shot at Gennaro Valdez. Insane ceiling, super low price tag. I think he has all the tools to get it done. But it's another fight I'm targeting both sides. Super high volatility. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. All right, let's talk about the big boys next. First up, we got RDA, 9.6K, sitting at the top of the price ranges this weekend. He's facing Bam Bam Barberena, which on paper for sure is definitely not a good matchup for Brian. I love Brian Barberena. I was fortunate enough to see him live in Columbus, but it's a tough matchup. RDA has the style and the matchup to absolutely destroy Brian here, and he could probably put up another score like he has in the past. Disregarding his fight against Fiziev, RDA had 2 back-to-back performances, putting up 135 and 155 points. There's another matchup here. Brian Barberena has really questionable takedown defense. He was taken down and controlled multiple times by Anthony Ivy, Jason Witt, some very questionable fighters. And although he was able to piece up Robbie Lawler on the feet, I still think RDA has the better striking. I still think he has the better accuracy. And Brian Barberena just leaves so many openings. Brian Barberena is a guy with many defensive liabilities. Although he has a good volume pace, good ability to break people, I don't think he has that going here. I think RDA's 9.6 price tag is well deserved. I think he's a great cash option because he has the ability to go to his wrestling, ability to mix it up, and just has a very high ceiling in the spot here. I think RDA is a pretty safe option this week, and I think he's worth the pay-up price tag at 9.6K. Right below him is another guy with super high upside. Jonathan Pearce, 9.5K. I mean, this man is DraftKings gold. Last 4 wins, 145, 96, 123, and 134. Scoring over 4 takedowns in all of those. Man, this is absolutely insane. He's up there with the Merab Dvalishvilis. He's up there with the Ronnie Lawrences. This guy is pure DraftKings gold because of that forward pressure, because of that pace, because of that wrestling upside. And I do think this is a matchup where he can implement that even more. He's 8 years younger. He's got the youth advantage. And Darren Elkins seems like a guy who's kind of nearing the end, right? He's absorbed a lot of damage. It's literally his nickname in the damage. But he's also lost a lot of blood. And he's facing a guy who does exactly what he does, just better. Darren Elkins likes to break people down the stretch. And I think it's going to be really hard for him to break someone like Jonathan Pearce. Jonathan Pearce averages 7 takedowns for 15 minutes, and I do think he's able to get that here. I would not be surprised if he's able to find a finish on Darren Elkins. Either way, his upside is through the roof. I think at 9.5K, I would not be surprised to see another 130-point score from the guy. He's another guy you really want to pay up for this week. But with two just monster price tags up top, you need to find a way to balance it out. I know we talked about the volatility and the possibility of Valdez and Tuivasa having these super high ceilings, but who's a safer underdog I'm going to this week? And he may not be the prettiest name to talk about because I don't know how high his DraftKings ceiling is, but a guy who I think has a much better chance of winning than the line entails is Eric Anders. 7.1K. He's facing a guy in Kyle Daukaus, and take this with a grain of salt because I've had a horrible time capping Kyle Daukaus fights, but I don't think it's a good matchup for him. Kyle Daukaus is a guy who likes to get people down on the ground. He's got decent jiu-jitsu and he's got a good ability to find submissions there, but he's a walking punching bag. I don't think his wrestling is too elite, and we've seen him be knocked out in a couple of his fights. The problem I have here is I don't think he's able to take down someone like Eric Anders, who is much bigger physically, who is going to have the physicality edge here, and who just has decent takedown defense in general. And I think when it comes to the feet, the striking, the guy with the better pace, the better accuracy, and the better striking defense, because we all know about Kyle Daukaus' striking defense, is going to be Eric Anders. So I think he's able to win the minutes, keep it upright, and even if it does hit the ground, Eric Anders has shown decent sub defense. Sure, he got submitted by Andre Muniz, but who hasn't at this point? So give me Eric Anders to win this fight, but what's his ceiling? I think it's a decision win most likely. Of course, Daukaus has been knocked out, so he could get the finish here, but most likely I see a 95 to 100-point decision win here with volume, pressure, and maybe some clinch battles as well. So decent underdog at 7.1K. It just allows you to go up there and get those high-value targets up top. Well, we're 5 fights talking into this card so far, and I haven't mentioned the main event. And although it is an entertaining one, especially from a name value standpoint between Wonderboy and Kevin Holland, I'm not getting the best vibes about this fight. Both these guys are finally getting the matchup they want. They're getting a striking battle. They're both strikers at heart. And although Holland does have that in his back pocket, we've heard from him he wants to strike and he wants to showcase his striking ability. The problem I have here is, they're going on each other's podcast, they're being all buddy-buddy, and I really think this has the opportunity to become a striking affair for 25 minutes. And if it does, what's their ceilings? We've seen Stephen Thompson be completely content to stay around and strike from the outside. That's his game. Stephen Thompson has no wrestling upside. He has no control time upside, even finish upside. Kevin Holland's never been knocked down or knocked out aside from that head clash, but I don't think we can get too many bonus points for Stephen Thompson. I think his best chance at scoring well is just outpointing Holland to a decision, which I don't think he can do too consistently. I think all the upside here lies in someone in Kevin Holland who has wrestling upside, who has the power edge in my opinion, who has the youth edge, the durability edge. And I think that if he goes to his wrestling, he's able to score pretty well here. We've seen Thompson be controlled, be wrestled before, and I think that that's always there for Kevin Holland. I just don't know how reliable that is for him to do, especially at a price tag of 8.5 with the people on the slate with much higher ceilings. I'm finding it pretty hard to get to this main event. Sure, the ceiling is there for Kevin Holland, but with him being all buddy-buddy, I would not be surprised to see a striking affair for 25 minutes, to which the score does not have that high of ceiling. So the pick is going to be Kevin Holland because he has all those immeasurables, he has that upside, he has those path to victory. I just don't know if I can trust him to implement it. Next up, a fight that's really flying under the radar this week, and what I'm really looking forward to is this Francis Marshall versus Marcelo Rojo fight. And it's going to be a fun one. And the reason I want to talk about this is because so much of this attraction and this upside is going towards that JSP Brian Barberena range, but I do think that Francis Marshall has some really good upside at the spot at 8.8K. He's facing a guy, Marcelo Rojo, who not only has seen to slow down the stretch, but has been submitted multiple times in his career. With 5 submission losses to Rojo's name, you feel like the UFC is giving Francis Marshall a shot to do well in the big leagues here. And although this can be a huge step up in competition for Marshall, I think the path to victory is there. This kind of reminds me of the Brady Heastand fight, a guy who has the wrestling upside in this spot. And I think that is Francis Marshall here. He's just going completely overlooked. At 8.8K, I would not be surprised to see him shoot takedown after takedown, securing them and even getting a submission in the process. I think he has a really, really sneaky ceiling this week, and I think he's going to go completely overlooked. So at 8.8K, I'm finding myself drawn to someone in Francis Marshall a lot. However, if you do think he's inexperienced, if you do think he's not ready for the big leagues, Rojo is going to have the advantage on the feet. He's going to have the striking edge, the volume edge, and could put a halt to Marshall's debut, but I do think Marshall has the tools and the path to victory to get it done. There are so many fights on this slate. I want to talk about a couple more, first of which being the Nico Price versus Philip Rowe fight. Phil Rowe is a 100% finish rate. When you see him in these slates, you kind of got to draw attention to it because, you know what? He has a decently well-rounded skill set. Is it the most elite? Is he going to be a title challenger soon? Probably not, but he has the ability to mix it up and do pretty well. He's fought wrestlers recently, which has allowed him to not really showcase his ability as much, but I think there's a spot here against Nico Price where he's going to have the edge on the ground. He's going to have the edge in the grappling. I think he could take it there if he wants to. On the feet, both these guys have power. I do think it'll be a pretty fun and violent affair, so at 8.4 and 7.8, I'm drawn to both sides. I want ownership of both sides due to that volatility, due to the poor striking defense on both sides, and due to the ability for both these guys to get a knockout finish. Should be a fun fight. I'm looking forward to this one. I'll be rostering both sides as well. All right, one last fight breakdown before I start just rifling off these fights at the end of the day. Again, I want to keep this video kind of short, so if you guys have any extra questions, please let me know in the comments down below. But Nicolau versus Schnell. And every time you see Matt Schnell, the guy's nickname is Danger. And he's going to go out there and he's going to cause chaos, just like he did his last time against Su Maderji, scoring 115 points in the process. He's my punt play this week. 6.8K, he has slate breaking potential. The problem here is I don't think he's going to have necessarily the opportunity to break the slate as much as he did last time. Nicolau is very, very sound defensively. He's got decent power in his own right, decent submission, defense, and offense. He just lacks that killer instinct. But the reason I'm targeting this fight more than I expected myself to is because of Schnell causing that chaos and because of the ownership Nicolau is going to accrue. With Pearce and Dos Santos being right above him, he's not going to have that much ownership, and he's still going to have that same finishing potential against a guy in Matt Schnell who has been finished multiple times before. So in my eyes, I see someone Matt Schnell going out there being chaotic, probably getting caught in the process, and if he does so, that could score really high for Nicolau at 9.4K with lower ownership. But in this odd chance that Schnell's able to catch Nicolau with something, catch him in a submission, cause that chaos, and capitalize off of it, he's going to be slate breaking at 6.8K. So another really violent affair. I'm loving this fight from a entertaining value, maybe even an underplay on that as well. But should be a fun fight and should have some good contrarian options to your DraftKings lineup. All right, that's going to do it for the core breakdowns. Let's quick fire the rest of these. First up, Hermansson versus Delice. Delice coming in on short notice. He's coming off a nice first round victory though, but big step up in competition. Jack Hermansson has all the advantages in my opinion. Experience, range, striking, volume, even wrestling. I think Delice has a very good ground game, but I don't know if his wrestling is good enough to get it there. The one thing I am going to give Delice is his power, is his ability to get people out of there, but it's going to be a moment versus minute winner, and Hermansson's shown decent recoverability, decent perseverance. I do think that, especially with that short weight cut for Delice, he's in for a rough night. Give me Hermansson probably get it done, especially with Delice wearing down the stretch. I think Jack Hermansson is a sneaky play. However, there may be some better options on the board. Diakase versus Johnson is a very, very interesting one. Diakase has that wrestling upside. I mean, he's got 19 takedowns in his last two fights, scoring 119, 113. He's just getting a big step up in competition. Michael Johnson, although he is the banana peel fighter, the guy I make fun of all the time, he's got very good takedown defense. He's going to be probably the ranger and better striker, and it's going to be harder to take him down. Sure, there's always the option of Mark Diakase just holding him down and keeping him there for 15 minutes, but I do think it's going to be harder than it has been for the last fights for Mark Diakase. Big step up in competition, in my opinion, and Michael Johnson had that slate-breaking potential with that knockout power, with that, ability to keep it on the feet and win the striking exchanges. So should be a fun fight. If Johnson's able to do so, I think he can score very well. Fun fight. Another sneaky one, Holtzman Guida. And I really just say that because Guida has the ability to go out there, be wrestle heavy, shoot a lot of takedowns, and doing so against someone who's coming off a huge layoff, has some really slate breaking potential. 7.6K is going to have very low ownership. I mean, both these guys are 39 and 40 years old. I don't see this fight being too popular for most people, and I think Guida has the ability to go out there and score very well if he's able to stick to his game plan. Lots of wrestling, lots of takedown upside. Should be a good way for him to go out there and be contrary in your lineups. Ribas Cortez, I get the love for Cortez. She has the ability to go out there, wrestle, hold her down, score 80 to 85 points. I don't think it's going to be that easy. Ribas has some really good jiu-jitsu, and I think she's able to make it competitive, and I don't think this fight scores very well. So I'm going to be a bit under the field in this fight, just like I'm under the field in the Dakota Hill fight. Going to be a test for Dakota to see where she's at. Hill's been a really good gatekeeper of the division, but does not score well. I mean, Angela Hill, even in her wins, 71 points, 77 points, not very attractive in my opinion. I'm staying away from that fight. And the Yoregi Nunes fight, I get the love for Nunes as underdog. I think that in a 15-minute fight, sure, she has a decent chance to win, but I even at that, I don't think she can. I think that the better striker, the person with more volume is going to be Yoregi, person with the more ability to be more durable, better cardio, be the minute winner, and probably just win this fight in general is going to be Yoregi, but she's going to score nowhere near the people above her in Nicolau, Pearce, Dos Santos. I don't even think she scores better than Diakase or Pavlovich, so it's going to be really hard for me to get to someone in Yoregi at $9,300, so pass for me there. But that's going to do it for me here on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys have gained some insight to what I'm playing in this beautiful 15 slate card. I mean, we got 3 fight cards left on the year, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I appreciate if you guys hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. If you got any more questions, I mean, I just quick fire those last few fights. If you got any more questions, hit the comments up down below or hit me up on Twitter at GamblesGordo. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Wish you guys the best of luck this weekend, and let's make some money, guys.